Welcome to an odd-numbered episode where we explore the basics of YAB. And today we do the for next loop. Now let's get this straight. A program without loops is just a shopping list. Now it might save you a little time in typing, but it's not really anything to get excited about. So we loop, we make the machine do the work. So if I wanted to print the numbers 1 to 10, well, I could do this. 1. Print 2, and so forth, right? So then that's our 10 lines. But here, I'm going to do the same thing in just 3. So the for next loop is when you want something done a specific number of times. So the format of it is for variable, the number, to another number. And for now, let's say that's a higher number. So let's just save this and run it. And so you will see it's for variable, number to number, then your payload, the thing you want done, which in this case is just to print that number, and then next, and the variable again. Now this is optional. You can take it away and it'll still work. I generally tend to include it because you can nest these things. Right, let's take this down. Just make it 5. And you will see that this is indented. It's not required. You can either use a tab or a couple of spaces, but it makes it easier to read. Right, so now let's put another for next loop inside it. Print, what are we going to print? F, comma, N. I forgot to do it in capital letters, but that's not important here. Right, now what do you expect is going to happen? I expect that this is going to print 1, then 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, then 2, then 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. Let's see if that works. There you go. So you're not restricted to printing. You can do anything inside this loop. But now you can see that if I just took this out, well, some people like to do it that way, but I think it's harder to read. What is being nexted here? Now, here you can see it's N, and the indentation also helps. But, yeah, I just prefer it this way. It seems clearer to me. Okay, what else can I tell you? Well, so you can see that this, I always use F and then N. It could be A, it could be Z, it could be blah blah. Yeah, you're not limited to one letter there either, because it's just a variable. But by convention, we always use single letter variables for these kind of loops. Now, I always used first F and then N, because I learned to program long ago in on a ZX Spectrum, which had these little rubber keys that with one keystroke would give you a whole command. And so on that computer, if you hit F twice while you were programming, it would print 4F. And if you printed N twice, it would print next N. So if you know your computer history, you can see from my code where I learned to program, what kind of loops I prefer to use, and yeah, just a bit of history there. Okay, so let's take this out, because we need to explore what else we can do here. Could you go backwards? Well, before we do that, let's make this 10 again. This time I want to print every second letter. Well, step 2. Right, let's run it. There we go. So now we're skipping every second letter. We're starting with 1. And then when we get to 9, then we have to stop, because otherwise it would be 11. So what if we did this? 10 to 1. And forget about the step for now. Is that going to work? There are basic dialects where that would work. Let's see if this is one of them. Nope, it isn't. But you can force it by saying step -1. And now it works. Let's make it step -2. What do you think will happen? Now these two numbers that you've set up here, they do not have to be starting with 1. Let's make it 3 to 7. What you can even do is say something like this. A equals 3, B equals 7. A to B. See, so those are just variables. Nothing unusual about them. Now, let's say, just to show you, it does not have to be a single letter. Let's call this FF. So for FF, next FF. And that is not going to work. Why not? Because I've set FF for the loop, but I'm still printing out just F. Now if we make that the same, then it's working again. So yes, this always works with integers. I think it is possible. Let's make this 1 and make this 1.5. And okay, I'm experimenting here. I've never actually needed to do this, but let's see if that'll work. No, it won't. For next loops are always working with integers, even though we don't have an integer data type. Wait a minute. Whoa. Step point 1. I may be wrong. Yes, I was wrong. It can actually be done with the floating point numbers. I've never actually needed to do that, but it could be done. So let's reverse that. Just to be funny. And there you go. So, now, obviously, why would you use A and B instead of 1 and 10? Because the rest of your programs may decide how many times something needs to be repeated. Right, so here we've just defined these, but for example, you may read a text file into memory, and then you want to do something on each line. So now first you have to figure out how many lines are in that text file, because you don't know in advance, right? Your user may have a much bigger text file or a smaller text file. And so you have a little thing that says, okay, this particular text file is 10 lines, and so the upper limit here for this loop has to be 10. Next file you read in might be 20 or 30 or 397. So that is the for next loop, and it's just one of those things that you will find in every language in one form or another. It's just very, very classic. Even in Bash there are ways to use a for next loop. Even if it's not always easily recognizable. Right, anything else I need to tell you about that? No, I think we can shut this down, and I'll see you next week when we're going to look at another kind of loop.